Okay, today you should be able now we will complete the chapter that deals with the extraordinary and the supernatural. And we start with the chapter that deals of methodology, it's chapter 3. The last item is item 16. But because I think it's an important chapter, and once we start the next chapter, I'll say why I think it's important. If you go to item 14 in this chapter, Kardec gives us what he calls let us summarize our stance in the following propositions. And he gives us a set of things over here. Give eight important items. That's basically a summary of the chapter, which leads me to believe that since this is the summary of the chapter, item 14, item 15 and 16 is more like an addendum, almost. There's almost like a footnote of the chapter. Equally important, of course. But to summarize the whole chapter and its importance, there's a few items over here that I think gives a complete idea of the whole chapter over here. And I'll ask who is going to read today to read number 1, and I'm going to read number 1, number 2, number 5, and number 7. But we do one by one, okay?
Okay. Okay, we'll begin.
Sure.
Number 1, all spirit phenomenon has their principle, the existence of the soul, its survival upon the death of the body, and its ability to manifest itself.
Yes. So all spirit phenomena. Okay. 3 things, right? The existence of the soul, what in spiritism is incarnate spirit, right?
Mhm.
In most of the other Christians and even non-Christians religions is spirit. 2, the survival upon the death of the body. And 3, ability to manifest itself. The first 2 is quite common to all. All religions are spiritualists. Otherwise, it would not be a religion as we understand religion, right? So all religions have that understand of there is something more than matter. That's what separates spiritualism from materialism, right? If you do not believe, you are a materialist. So the existence of the soul and the survival of that thing after the death of the body is common to everyone. The only difference that we would see from the spiritual from most of other spiritualists or religions is the third one, its ability to manifest itself. And it's in part because even some others religions that does not believe or agree in mediumship have in their own books many manifestations of spiritual entities. You know, the Catholic is full of those events. Those is actually one of the most common things that you would call a miracle that allows a person to become a saint, or in a canonization. There is some that repel the evildoer from the body of someone else. There is something stealing the body of another person. So there are manifestations. They will not say it's mediumship. They may say it's the devil, but how many devils are there? You know that without this, there is no mediumship, and there is no spirituality itself, right? So spiritism is only really different from most of the spiritualists or religions from the very third aspect, the ability to manifest itself. Okay, number 2.
Number 2. Since they result from a law of nature, these phenomena have nothing extraordinary or supernatural about them, at least in the common meaning of these words.
Thanks. Now, most of the other spiritualists, religions or doctrines that accepts that manifestation takes it on a more extraordinary or supernatural aspect. And Spiritism put everything in the realm of nature. It results from a law of nature. Naturally, you need to understand, you have to study to come to that conclusion. Just read over here that its result from law of nature is empty, blind faith. It doesn't work. One need to go into depth, and Spiritism gives us the tools to go into depth to reach that conclusion by ourselves individually, that indeed the ability to manifest itself results from a law of nature. By doing that, we can definitely eliminate individually that sense that the phenomena has something of extraordinary and supernatural. Okay, I mean, anyone can stop me and if I have any questions, okay? Otherwise, just gonna keep going here. And the next one is number 5.
Okay. Although Spiritism recognizes a basis of truth for many popular beliefs, it absolutely does not accept all the fantastic stories created by the imagination.
I think this is a very important point, because Kardec wants to make clear here that the doctrine does not seek to clash with anything or anyone else, does not seek to compete, does not seek to criticize anyone or anything else. It presents facts and allow each one to reach their own conclusions. Okay? But by doing so, Spiritism will not accept anything and everything without investigation. We start going through a scientific method of analyze things, reach conclusions. Otherwise, we're going to go back to the same thing over here, that we just believe for the sake of belief with a blind faith, which we do not want. Okay, and thing needs to be associated with reasoning. So Spiritism will not accept some things, or if something happens, we'll seek to understand its causes, its reasoning to be, its consequences. As an example, once someone told me that his spiritual guide was on a white horse, a beautiful white horse that was always showing up and talking to him. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, you're lying, that's impossible." I'm gonna be that ridiculous. But I'm also gonna use what the doctrine provides for me, the tool that it provides to me, then try to reach a conclusion that perhaps indeed this individual perceives things with the own lenses of his eyes, and that's what he mentalizes when he hears the voices of whoever is talking to him. But I can't tell if it's the guardian angel or no, I don't know. Or I could also consider the possibility that a spirit having the know-how, having the capability, understand how to do so, may change the morphology of its perispirits to appear like something else. And the science explains its possibilities. Now, I'll leave up to that person to like or dislike those possibilities. But I would not believe that the guardian angel of anyone is a horse. It's not compatible with the law of progress. It's not compatible to anything that leads to reasoning with me. And is using the tools of the doctrine that I reach that conclusion. Now, anyone may disagree, right? But Spiritism will not engage on quarrels and will not believe in anything of it and everything without proper investigation. Again, it might become a blind faith. And Spiritism is here to eliminate blind faith. And number 7.
Okay. The explanation of the phenomenon accepted by Spiritism, along with their causes and moral consequences, comprise an entire science and philosophy in and of themselves, and they require serious, persevering, and in-depth study.
Okay, so the true absolutely reason of the spirits of light, the gleb of high level of the spirits who get together to bring us this doctrine, is to bring us moral growth, to morally upgrade humankind. All this we're doing here, all the scientific aspects, the understanding of the perispirit, the association of this perispirit with the physical body, the interaction of matter and spirit, all this in the scientific aspect is for one reason, to upgrade us morally. That is the main and only reason for Spiritism to exist. Now, to reach that, it uses the sciences, it uses the philosophy to bring us that. And in that way, it completely raises superstitions. What is extraordinary? It is outside of the ordinary. Are things that is extraordinary? Yes, there are. If I tell you that, I don't know, if I take I just took the A train to go to Brooklyn, you're gonna laugh at me. Extraordinary, almost. I take the A train to go to Brooklyn. Are you joking? But it's completely outside of my ordinary life. I never take the A train and I never go to Brooklyn. So individually, for me, it is an extraordinary event. But I can't put that as something extraordinary because, again, it's laughable. If I come to you and I say, I took a ride to Orlando, popped in a spaceship and went to the moon for 3 days. That is, everybody will agree that it's extraordinary. It's outside of the common. It's outside of the act of the ordinary life of human beings in this planet. But if I say that it was supernatural, it becomes laughable. One would be that I'm complete an idiot because we know that it's totally natural. We have a science that shows that it's possible. The others have been there and done that before, right? And what Spiritism does is exactly that. It eliminates this idea of the extraordinary and the supernatural, and puts the mediumistic phenomena, as I'm afraid to say, but as something ordinary. It's something perhaps much more common than we know. Perhaps people don't want to talk about, perhaps people want to avoid this kind of topic, but it's not so extraordinary, and Kardec, with his studies, showed that to us. And the word supernatural, it basically eliminates it. If it happens, is in the role of laws of nature. Otherwise, it could not happen. If you throw a rock up in the air, it will go up, you're going to lose momentum, we will stop, and then we will descend, come down by the forces of gravity. If I throw the same rock up and it stays up there, floating up there, and does not fall down, is an extraordinary event. But it's not supernatural. It has to be into the realms of nature, otherwise it would not happen. Then we're going to seek the cause. What led that to happen? What led that phenomenon to happen? And if we study, there will be a reason. As an spiritist, I could consider the hypothesis there was a physical phenomena, that an spirit was able to utilize ectoplasm for someone who is a medium of physical effect, go to that rock, and he was able to hold that rock up in the air. That's one hypothesis. That is, if we study spiritism, is a very acceptable hypothesis. I can't say that that's what happened because I would have to study first, right? So the supernatural, basically, we erase from the dictionary. Is something, personally, I would say supernatural equal impossible. And impossible does not happen. And extraordinary, some things that may be extraordinary. A floating rock is an extraordinary thing that happens, but there has to be an explanation within the laws of nature. All right? And 15, it just used the...
Anna raised the hand, Elmo.
Oh,
Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah,
hi, everybody. Good morning. How are you? It's been a while. I hope you can hear me. It might be a bit noisy. I came to the sunshine in the corridor here in the window, so I hope it's not too noisy.
No, we can.
That's perfect. Thank you, Elmo. So when this great example you're saying, is something that is standing in the air, you need the ectoplasm of a medium to interact with that object. So is it it's an extraordinary situation that a medium has such a amount or power over the ectoplasm to hold that object in the air. So it is a form of energy. I'm trying to understand, right? So it is the ectoplasm of you need a medium for that to happen. That's basically my question, I guess, right?
Yes.
A medium that, okay.
A medium who is able to donate, that is an individual who produces that element. I'm not gonna, it's an energy, perhaps it's an energy. It's good chance to be an energy, but definitely it has the potential of be used as an energy, because you do not understand ectoplasm very well yet, right?
Right.
The most acceptable theory so far is a byproduct of the production of ATPs in the mitochondrium of our cells, right? And some people just produce lots of it, and the spirits can utilize that. I'm not going to say the medium of a physical effect is extraordinary. For us, that's one of us here might be one of them, and we never know it. Okay? And we produce enough ectoplasm that spirits are picking up from us without us even know. I don't know if that, I would not really call that as an extraordinary thing. But if you walk on the street and you see a rock floating out there, I think everybody would agree. So that's pretty extraordinary, because we don't see rocks float in the air, so it's an extraordinary. But there has to be an explanation within the laws of nature and a physical phenomenon by any spirit utilizing ectoplasm for a medium who may not even know that he is a medium of his or she is a medium of physical effect and is donating ectoplasm to the phenomenon. There has to be an explanation, basically. Without that ectoplasm, the spirits could not hold that rock in the air. But then again, it's one of the possible hypotheses within the realm of natural laws.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
the medium needs to be somewhere close, not exactly in the same place, not exactly in the same building, but it cannot be, you know, you see a rock floating in New York, a medium cannot be in Philadelphia, because it's, you know, the ectoplasm doesn't travel those long distances. But so there has to be a medium present somewhere around in the building, in the next door building, something like that, for the phenomena to happen.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because the ectoplasm is degradable. It will degrade, especially with excess of white light. So it has a lifespan, so to say. So if I have to carry it from San Francisco to New York, it may degrade on the way.
Wayne, raise his hand.
We don't need to complicate it with the idea of ectoplasm, and which it's not as well defined yet. But we've all gone by novelty stores where you see a ball floating in the air, and you're amazed at this, and then you realize there's a fan underneath, or that there's another thing floating, and it's done by magnetism that holds it up in the air. We're saying there's a physical reason, a natural reason for these things, those that we know and those that we don't know, even if the moment we don't realize it.
Yeah, thanks for that. And that's very important. And that's why I use the word hypothesis. That's one of the possibilities. And that's why I use the word investigation before we take anything. We must investigate, as you say. It could be multiple reasons. The first thing to eliminate is charlatanism, right? Another thing to eliminate is illusionism. You know, illusionism these days, I mean, it's amazing what these people the illusion they can create. Is that the illusion of creation of a floating rock? All those things has to be ruled out before we consider the possibility of mediumistic physical phenomena. And that is part of what we do here, to be able to separate fact from fiction. And that's why I try most of the time to be careful, use words, hypothesis, possibilities, investigations. Is exactly that what Kardec teaches us, what Kardec done during the seances in Paris, that every corner there was one. Kardec himself would investigate each one of them, and Kardec himself would find so many charlatanisms, so many little tricks there to fool people, which hurt the doctrine itself, because if you go to a place and a phenomena happens and you see that it's not a real phenomena, it's someone trying to fool you, you take an immediate dislike of it and shy away. Perhaps you're going to shy away from it for life, because now you think that anyone who deals with that phenomena is trying to trick you. Okay, any more questions? And then 15, it goes to explores the word miracle, how the meaning of the word has transformed, as the language is the most dynamic thing that we have in this world, or something that is tangible and the meaning of words and the way we use words changes tremendously throughout time. And the meaning of the word miracle as something supernatural, again, we eliminate supernatural. I equal supernatural with impossible. Therefore, miracle is impossible. If you take miracle as something supernatural, it may be extraordinary, meaning that it's outside of the realm of the ordinary, what happens commonly, but can happen. I can go to the moon. It is going to be extraordinary, right? And most of what is labeled as miracle in the scriptures, Christians and non-Christians, okay, if indeed happened, there has to be an explanation in the realm of nature. The thing is, we have to expand the laws of nature into the physical and extra-physical. And that is the hardest part for most of us, to extend that laws of nature beyond the physical, to have the open mind to explore that nature is nature in the physical as well as in the extra-physical. And by extra-physical, I just mean not the palpable world of ours. It could be in the spiritual world, it could be between these worlds or whatever you consider. But if happen, it is in the laws of, within the laws of nature. Otherwise, it could not happen. So all the miracles, so-called miracles of Jesus, would have an explanation. If cannot explain now, eventually we will. When Anagara put liquid on a cup, set it on fire, and threatened the Indians, they would turn all the waters into fire if they didn't show them that the emeralds. The Indians thought that he was a miracle man. He could perform a phenomenon that could not be explained. But he knew that he put alcohol in that bowl, that will light up was alcohol. For the Indians who did not understand that, it was a miracle, perhaps. But for us who understand the properties of alcohol, the property of the alcohol is an inflammable liquid, clear liquid, there is no miracle, becomes laughable. Not the miracles, the events of Christ will ever be laughable, but eventually will be understood. Because it has to be within the realm of the laws of nature. And with that, we can read now the last item, which is item 16.
Okay, just before that, just if you are more interested in reading about miracles, Genesis chapter 13, miracles according to Spiritism, you can go a little deeper into the explanation of miracles and how Spiritism views it. There's a whole chapter dedicated to it in Genesis. And actually Genesis, the subtitle of Genesis is Miracles and Predictions According to Spiritism. So, and there's a lot of discussion that in that book that is not read by many, by what we recently learned. Thanks.
Okay. Number 16. Like magnetic phenomenon, spirit phenomenon passed as wonders before their course was fully understood. And opinionated skeptics, that is, those who think they have exclusive rights to reason and common sense, do not believe that something is possible if they cannot understand it. And that is why all the so-called prodigious phenomena have been the object of their ridicule. Since religion itself is full of phenomena of this kind, they do not believe in religion either. And from there, it is only a small step to complete disbelief. However, since Spiritism is able to explain most of these phenomena, It justifies their very existence. Thus, it has come to aid religion by demonstrating possibility of some of the phenomena, which even though no longer miraculous, are nonetheless extraordinary. And God is neither more or nor less powerful at not having derogated from the divine laws. How many jokes have had the levitations of Saint Cupertino as their object? Nevertheless, the suspension of heavy objects in the air is an occurrence explained by Spiritist law. We have personally been eyewitness of the Saint Cupertino type phenomenon, which Mr. Home and many other persons known to us have repeated many times. Thus, this phenomenon must also be included in the order of natural events.
I'm sorry, it's Act 16 and 17.
Okay,
I think I can read 17 also. It's one and the same thing.
okay. 17. Among the number of phenomena of this kind, apparitions should be given first place since they are the most frequent. The apparition a la Salenti about which there are divergent opinions among the clergy is nothing remarkable to us. Surely we cannot go so far as to safely affirm the reality of the event because we have no material proof of the matter. Nevertheless, we certainly consider it possible in light of the thousands of similar recent events with which we are familiar. We believe in them not only because we have verified their reality, but especially because we know perfectly well how they are produced. Those wishing to refer to the theory on apparitions, which we will provide further on, will see that these phenomena are as simple and plausible as an infinite number of physical phenomena that only appear prodigious when we lack the key to explaining them. As for the actual personages that presented itself at La Salette, that is a different issue. Its identity has never been absolutely proven to us, and we only accept the fact that some kind of apparition could have appeared. The rest of the details are outside our competency to judge. Each one may keep his or her own convictions regarding the matter, but Spiritism does not need to be concerned with it. We will only state that the facts produced by Spiritism have revealed new laws and have given us the key to a multitude of incidents that formerly seemed supernatural. If some of those supposed miraculous facts find a logical explanation in Spiritism, it is one more reason for people not to be in a hurry to deny what they do not comprehend. Since spirit phenomena have been contested by some individuals precisely because they appeared to be outside ordinary laws and because an explanation for them could not be found. However, provide them with a rational basis and there can be no more doubt. In this century in which no one is satisfied with mere words, an explanation is therefore a powerful motive for conviction. Thus, every day we see persons who have never even witnessed one phenomenon, who have never seen a table move or a medium write, but who are nonetheless as convinced as we are solely because they have read and understood. If we had to believe only what we have actually seen with our own eyes, our convictions will be reduced to insignificance.
Okay, so as I said, it seems like 15, 16, or 17 as are more like an addendum to the chapter, because the issue of extraordinary and supernatural was already summarized in 14, and it's, if you didn't get it by then, you just have to reread the whole chapter again, I think. And on 16, he brings the example of a phenomenon that happens, that Spiritists, through a scientific methodology, have done observations, have done the testing when possible. Okay, it's primarily on a science of observation, have ruled out as Wayne said very, very properly, all the possibilities before you accept that indeed it's a spiritual phenomenon. It could be many other reasons, and you need to go through that scientific process of eliminate A, B, C, D before you reach the conclusion without a doubt that indeed is a physical spiritual phenomena. More in this case over here, physical phenomena, and use examples as magnetism, that Kardec was a student, that Kardec had actually participated in the phenomena with what's his name again? Mesmer, yes. And then he used the example of levitations with San Cupertino. There was a Franciscan priest in the 1600s that was able to levitate, was able to float, and for that he was severely criticized. But paradoxically, it was exactly the same thing that made him a saint. And he is the patron of the aviation. He's the patron of the pilots. And because he had some kind of disability, I don't quite recall here, he is also the patrons of the disabled ones. So if you're afraid of flying or anything, before you go, just make a little prayer to St. Cupertino and you should be fine.
Anna.
Hi, sorry to come in again. So
No, please
I
do
missed
so.
this part of the levitation. I missed this part of the levitation. So is levitation linked to ectoplasm? Well, it can't be ectoplasm because it's not really a spirit involved. What is it? I'm sorry, I missed that part of the levitation. What explains?
Okay. All the physical phenomena. Levitation is one example here. The other example that he uses here on 17 is apparition. Any and all physical phenomena. And by physical phenomena, it simply means that it's affect our physical organs, sensorial organs. We can see it, you can touch it, you can smell it, you can hear it with the physical eyes, with the physical ears, with the physical hands, with the physical nose. We can utilize our physical senses to witness, to experience the phenomena. That's what makes it a physical phenomena. All of them requires this ectoplasm, require this substance that the spirits will utilize to perform that phenomenon. Levitation is one of them. How do they do it? I will like to say that I understand it. A more likely possibility is that they coat the subject that will levitate. Now, the subject could be a rock. The subject could be a human being. That is also a physical thing that could also be coated with that substance. And what it allows is the spirits to be able to interact with dense matter, right? Like, as an example, oil and water does not mix. You cannot mix oil and water, right? But you can, by a process of saponification, you can combine them. That's why you use soap to wash our hands. What the soap does is the chemical process of saponification. It allows oil and water to mix. The ectoplasm is that substance that allows spiritual energies or the spirits to interact with dense matter so they can operate, they can use that, they can manipulate dense matter. So any spiritual physical phenomena that attracts our physical senses requires ectoplasm. How do they utilize the ectoplasm? Do they cover this the subject being the physical subject? That I don't know. I don't know if anybody does know yet, but requires an ectoplasm. Understand? Did you hear, Anna?
Yes, very, very clear. Thank you.
Mr. Home here is Douglas Home, an Englishman that was very famous at that time for all this physical phenomena, levitation and things like that. Rogério.
Thank you for this. I just have a comment. I think I was thinking when I was reading through this that since the book was written, there's so many of the medical and scientific community has sort of joined Spiritism because of this idea of rational faith, and that's a big thing for me as well. And it's very it makes a lot of sense that because Spiritism doesn't try to recruit anyone or doesn't try to enlist anyone. So this, I think, to our advantage, it provides a lot of the explanations that we're looking for, and naturally, right, and understanding science and the natural laws. And I think those two paragraphs in the end sort of shows from the time that this was written how much progress we've made, just naturally explaining some of the laws that we don't understand, but has been coming to surface. And I think the last sentence where he talks about just getting people adapt and really, explaining things that we don't see with our eyes. It's amazing how much of we had progressed since the book was written. Just a comment that I was thinking through as this was being read.
And that is an important observation that helps us to understand why Spiritism came when it came, how important it was the advancement of our physical sciences to develop, to allow us to be somewhat more comfortable with more abstract concepts, to be more comfortable with understand there are things that happens that are important, that is even physical, and that we do not see, that it's not really perceivable by our physical senses. So electricity was one of them. The power of not vapor, of steam was one of them. The theory of evolution with Darwin was one of them. We at that time was, well, at least we had the potential to, because we have the science to back us up, to understand there's a lot of things that happens that is beyond the perception of a physical eyes, of a physical ears, but happen, and the science can show it to us. And indeed, yes, there was a tremendous time of progress to us, and that shows this symbiotic relationship between our progress, intellectual and moral, how one pushes the one to follow up. Like right now, we are on a time that it seems apparently that the intellectual progress is going so fast with all this technology, with artificial intelligence, that I start to fear that the moral is too far behind. And even those who are those intellectual, brilliant individuals are saying, let's stop, let it slow down a little bit here. We're moving too fast. The moral has to catch up. But there is the symbiotic relationship. And again, there is a plan, right? Our progress is not, we make it, but there is somebody in charge of all these things, right? And basically by answering Anna, I think we cover all items 16 and 17. There's exactly that. There's all those phenomena that happens, being apparition with La Salette, being levitation with Saint Cupertino, any other phenomena. There must be an explanation. The Spiritism will explore this using scientific methodology, ruling out all the other possibilities before you jump in. It's spiritual, and then work with it, trying to better understand it. But always refer to one thing. The objective is a moral upgrade, is a moral growth. And with that, I think we can start the new chapter, unless anybody has any comments, questions. Okay. So before you jump in chapter 3, methodology, we see here the sequence of the building up block by block, brick by brick, how Kardec builds up this book, develops this book, right? We start with the first question. Are there spirits? Very basic, you know? Spirits exist. If you are comfortable that spirit does exist by reading the chapter, by in the beginning of the book, then you jump. So what are they then? What are those things? When you're comfortable with the idea that spirits are us without dense matter, but with matter, with the perispirit, right? But without dense matter, as we know, this physical body. We jump to another thing. Let's separate facts from fiction. Let's separate nature from mysticism and from mythology. Mythology is important, very important. But we need to be able to separate those things. So we have to separate the extraordinary or explain the extraordinary, and you have to eliminate the idea of the supernatural. Now, we need a method. We need a system that allows us to go deep into it. In the late 60s, early 70s, there was a movement, especially on the West Coast, but throughout the US, of people looking for other means to interact with the spirituality. There was a movement to look into Hinduism, of Buddhism, Hare Krishna become kind of big, and there's a lot of people dressing in red with bald heads in the subways and things. There's a big movement of people seeking to get into spirituality, right? And not recently, some time ago, I heard an interview of one of those gurus in one of the sects of Hinduism that was quite popular at that time. Many trips to San Francisco. I'm sorry, I never remember names, horrible with names. In that interview, the reporter asked, what did he think of that movement of all the youth seeking to spiritualize themselves, seeking to interact more at a higher extra physical aspect of ourselves? And his answer was very interesting, that he thought that was interesting, it was actually good, that many, they jumped into this boat of seeking spirituality thing, but they have a short rope tied up to a rock, at the beach. Meaning that they were not comfortable, they did not have the courage, they did go any farther. Okay, I go in this boat, but I'll make sure that it's tied up to land. I can only go a very short distance because it's tied up by a rope. I thought that answer was incredible. And I think this chapter 3 now, the methodology, is exactly the tool that we have to cut that rope. Understanding how to go in that boat comfortable without fear, without make sure that you are tied up to that rope, to that rope. Understanding, more important, the consequences of it. How to benefit from it. Because to know is good, but to know and not apply is meaningless. Methodology here in Kardec is exactly this, the idea of what Wayne said, very important, investigation. Make sure that things are in the realm of nature, because if it's not, then it's impossible. You're not waste our time with impossibilities, right? This thought methodology is the tool that we can use to cut that rope, to let us go in depth into understanding our spirituality and how to benefit from that understanding.
Okay. And we begin methodology. 18. One very natural and praiseworthy desire that adherents have, and which should always be encouraged, is that of winning converts, to make their task easier. We now intend to examine what we believe are the surest means to realize this objective without wasting any useless efforts. We have stated that Spiritism is a complete science, an entire philosophy in and of itself. Those who would desire to become thoroughly familiar with it must first of all submit to a serious study of the subject and become persuaded that, more than any other science, it cannot be learned without commitment. As we have stated earlier, Spiritism applies to all the issues that interest humankind. It is an immense field, and we must above all consider it as its consequences. Its foundation undoubtedly consists in the belief in spirits, but such belief does not make a knowledgeable spiritist any more than a belief in God makes a theologian. Thus, let us see what might be the most suitable way to proceed in its teaching in order to most effectively bring about conviction. Adherents need not be frightened by the word teaching. It is not solely the product of the lecture, stand, or podium, but it also occurs in simple conversation. Every person who tries to persuade another by means of explanations or experiences teaches. What we want is for the teaching effort to produce results, and that is why we believe our task should be that of providing a few words of advice that may be equally beneficial to those who want to learn by themselves. They will find the means herein to most surely and quickly reach their goal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I think you can start by saying this. It comes from an educator par excellence, an educator of educators, right? Which Kardec was, is teacher of teachers. He wrote books and teaching teachers how to teach, methodology again. One thing that is a little bit misunderstood is the idea that we don't want to advertise, we don't want to convert people into Spiritism. Indeed, we don't want to convert people. We don't want to brainwash people. We don't want persuade people to move in one direction without them getting the proper reasoning to follow those steps on their own. But we do want people to know of this doctrine and to follow this doctrine. Why? Because we believe it's good. Because if it's good, if I believe it's good for me, that it does me good, why would I think that would not be good, that will do good for my neighbor, for my wife, for my kids? If I think that it's not good, then I should not be following. If I believe that it's good for me, but it's not good for others, then there is something of exclusive about me. If I believe that it's good for me because I'm better prepared than others, then it put me in a position of kind of pride. The doctrine is universal. It comes from the Spirit, it doesn't come from one person. Kardec did not create Spiritism. Spiritism belong to the spirits, plural, lots of them, right? And this universality, this commonness, it's what make it so important to us, and it tells clearly to us that it's for everyone, but each one will get as much as one is able to. Again, if get any book, and you give to anyone to read, each person will get it with effort as much one is able to get it. You give any passage from the gospel, let's say, and get someone to read, each one will understand that in accordance to their ability to understand that. How much knowledge that person has acquired, how much intelligence of their heart that person has acquired. And that's why we listen to others who go into greater depth of studying the gospel and the spiritism, and we are sometimes in awe how these people know so much, because they have the ability to extract the teachings of the same paragraph that we could only gather, 50% was what they are able to get it. So each one will get as much as they can. So when you present Spiritism to others, each one will get as much as they can out of it. And as long as they get it and they use it, it is a 100% of what is there for them. Like the parable of the talents, 2, 5, and 10, or 2, 5, and 1. Each one will be able to deal with a certain amount. So we do want to introduce people to Spiritism. We would love to see people paying more attention to Spiritism. So the idea that, oh no, and the door is open and whoever comes in, it's true. In fact, it's true. But again, teaching Kardec puts over here, it's not going on a podium and provide a lecture. It's sitting and talking about those who are interested. And Kardec leaves that very clearly here. For those who are interested, who have desire to understand a little bit more of ourselves, of our spiritual nature. If you're not interested, no, respect. Go and preach. Go and knock at the doors. They do not open. Shake the sandal of your feet and move on. That's what Christ taught, right? So be there to those who want to hear, talk to them in a normal conversation. You're not going to be able to convert anyone. People need to convert themselves. But we're there to provide information for those who are interested. And we have to have a methodology. For one thing, you have to know what you're talking about. I think that the first more important thing is this. I think one of the big risks that Spiritism faces is exactly that the people label themselves spiritists, dumped into spiritism all their atavisms, all the things that they bring for something else, and make this fruit salad and call it spiritism. Spiritism is spiritism. Spiritualism is spiritualism. There is diverse types of spiritualism, including spiritism, and you have to be able to separate them. And for that, you have to use a method. You have to have a methodology to do so. So we might first of all submit to a serious study of the subject and become persuaded that more than any other science, it cannot be learned without commitment. And why Kardec explained here? There's two things. One, it affects all interests of humankind. If our essence is the very essence of us is spiritual, and everything there comes from it, derives from it. So therefore, everything that deals with spirit deals with all interests of humankind, with all of us. And two, it generates consequences. The understanding of spiritism can, and that is the objective, to create consequences, to upgrade us morally, right? And you need to be comfortable with those true consequences. As we stated earlier, spiritism applies to all the issues that interest humankind. It is an immense field, and we must above all consider it as to its consequences. In its foundations, of course, it consists in the belief in spirits. And Kardec continues, but to believe is not enough. I believe in God. A lot of people believe in God. And generates no consequence. I believe in God, there is a God there. But it doesn't make us theologians, as he says over here. Belief is weak. Belief is not enough. We need to know. We need to understand. And to know and to understand, I have to use reason. Not just purely belief. Then it becomes a blind faith. And a blind faith can be easily destroyed by a good communicator. Someone with a good oratoria may destroy a blind faith. But if it's based on reason, no one can. And you need a methodology to reach that faith with reason, which is the true foundation of spiritism here. We believe in the spirits? No. We used to. Now we know of spirits. Now we know of our essence. And again, when communicated with individuals, those who are interested, again, cannot, we don't want to force anyone, you don't want to stick anything in anybody's throat. Then we have a colloquial conversation, and we go into as much depth as we are able to, very important. Sorry. As we are able to, and as much as the person is interested. That's how we'll be able to bring individuals into, sorry about that, bring individuals to pay attention to this doctrine. Not everybody would be like Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, when for the first time somebody gave him the Spirit's book when he was waiting for the train here to go to suburbs where he used to live. And on the way, on the ride from the train for whatever year he were in the capital city to the suburbs, when he arrived there, he read the book and was like, oh my God, I was spiritist my entire life and never knew it. But there's a lot of people who will get that conclusion. Most of us, you have to struggle. You have to do that trip a million times. Kardec, Bezerra de Menezes was at one level of understanding of moral progress and intellectual, of course, that it took him a couple of hours to get it. So what I'm saying is that we're going to get people involved as much as they are able to, as much as they want to, respecting the limitations of each one of us. Not trying to put the car ahead of the horse, because it's not going to work and could, again, be even dangerous. It could create more problems than good for that individual, and could perhaps be one individual that eventually would look sympathetic towards the doctrine, now have an antipathy because of our pushing so hard, because of us trying to force something upon someone who was not willing to go into that direction yet. All right, questions, comment?
Yeah, one issue with Spiritism is that it doesn't have any popes, any clergy, anything like that, right? So it's all of the workers are those that study Spiritism and are willing to disseminate it, willing to share the knowledge. But this, unfortunately, this opens the door for a lot of deviations from the teachings of Kardec. And we see that mostly in Brazil because it's much bigger spiritist community, right? And a lot of people call themselves spiritists and go to do other things also. And that's why in Brazil the expression Kardecist developed to differentiate those that follow Kardec from the others that call themselves spiritists but follow the African religions or follow other different beliefs that are not within Spiritism. And our role is to teach, to discuss, to study Spiritism as taught by Kardec, as expanded by André Luiz, Emmanuel, Joana de Angelis, and the serious material out there. But we cannot control what other people do and what other people think. So we try to make it very clear that we stick with Kardec and the teachings, but we see the risk of a contamination from inside, because at the time of Kardec, he was concerned about the external attacks on Spiritism from people that did not understand and did not believe and decided to attack. The Barcelona bishop that burned the books and the materialistics that were attacking Spiritism. And I think nowadays we move to a different problem, which is the popularization of spiritualist methods and beliefs that contaminate different organizations. And when we talk about that, right, when we look at the Protestants, right, they have several different organizations nowadays for lack of agreement. Basically, each one follow their own teachings. Within the Catholic Church, there has the Pope, has a hierarchy, you still see a lot of divisions. The ones that that this Pope is being criticized by those that do not follow his, do not agree with his methods, trying to accuse him of destroying the church. So you see, in the end, we are all humans, right? So in the end, we, as Elmo said very well, we bring our own prejudices and our own distorted views to anything that we dedicate ourselves to. So in terms of us spiritists, what we have to try to do is to respect others, respect the belief of others, but as much as possible, do not allow ourselves to be contaminated by things that do not belong in a spiritist center, right? I was watching a Q&A session this week, and a lady asked the speaker that she had a shrine in her home because she was Catholic, and she built a shrine, and then she became a spiritist, and her son loves the shrine. His 8-year-old son loved the shrine, prays there every day, but someone told her that she should remove the shrine from her home because the shrine is not a spiritist thing. And the speaker answered brilliant. He said, you don't bring a shrine to a spiritist center, but in your house, you are free to have whatever you feel comfortable with. And we discussed this many times. If you feel comfortable in lighting a candle to do a prayer, do light a candle. As long as you understand that it's not the candle that is going to be the efficient help for the prayer, but it can help you. So, and he said furthermore, if your son loves the shrine, why would you remove something that is so important for your son? Maybe he'll become a very important Catholic or Christian person one day because of that shrine, not even a spiritist, but others that are important to have everywhere. So again, a reminder for us, let us be very strict within the Spiritist Center, within our studies. Let us be flexible outside, accepting others' beliefs and respecting other beliefs as long as they're not trying to contaminate Spiritism.
Wayne?
Wayne, yeah.
You explained something that I had been wondering about for quite some time. I noticed that there are a lot of centers that utilize the Kardec name in the name of their center, and I always thought that was kind of weird in a way, sort of like they were elevating Kardec to a level that I thought wasn't proper. But now I understand that to differentiate themselves from a spiritist group that does things with a twist from Africa, rather than from the Kardec doctrine, sort of, and that explains it.
Yeah, this is an import from Brazil. When we open our group, we never thought of putting Allan Kardec's name because Allan Kardec is an unknown person in the US in general, so it doesn't mean anything. We wanted to disseminate Spiritism, right? But yes, you were right. In Brazil, they use Allan Kardec names in a lot of Spiritist centers, like they use Bezerra de Menezes. There is centers now called Joana de Angelis, Emmanuel. A center there in New Jersey just opened with the name Emmanuel, right? So, again, sometimes these centers choose their names because someone that opened the center uses the name as they think it's a protector to the center. So a protector, a guiding spirit to the center. So a lot of centers in Brazil that use the name Bezerra de Menezes, which was a very famous spiritist in Brazil in the beginning of the 20th century. believe that he's the protector, right? But again, you are right in the sense that many use the name Allan Kardec Spiritist Center or use the name of Allan Kardec to differentiate from the other beliefs that spread in Brazil, especially in the northeast of Brazil, where the African religions were much more disseminated, much more common. Anna.
I thank you. Yes. Well, when you say, and Elmo, we have to be flexible. Fully agree with that, and that includes us being, to some extent, tolerant to these that you're calling the African influence, or the African. I think they bring beautiful understanding that is extremely aligned to Spiritism and to exactly the methodologies that Kardec brought. Yes, it may not have been documented scientifically because of the nature of where they come from and when they were, or what the time it comes from. But they also bring, and I think it's part of Spiritism to have that welcoming of listening and explaining, not simply pushing it away, because yes, they may want to influence us, but so we have a chance to, I don't like to use the word to educate them, but to explain what we've learned from the methodologies and what Kardec brings. So I think it's even disrespectful that we keep saying, the African tone and what the other African cultures, the other African religions and studies bring, because I think they're very aligned to what Kardec says. But yes, there's a whole other side that doesn't. So it is a bit different, but it gives us a chance to talk to them and explain.
No, I fully agree with you, and I think also we have to be very careful not to discriminate against them and not to say anything wrong. There is a book from Divaldo Franco from Manuel Filomeno de Miranda that it's the whole book is in one of these Umbanda centers, right? That where the spirits working there, and there are very elevated spirits working everywhere that you work with serious intentions and intentions of helping and assisting others. You'll be assisted by high order spirits, right? Doesn't matter if it's where it is. André Luiz talks about going to the mass on a Sunday morning, early morning, because he said it's there. Serious people go at 1. There are really religious go early to the church, and so the good spirits are going to be there. So yeah, you are absolutely right, and actually something that Jussara always says: let us find the things that we have in common instead of focusing on our differences, right? And we have a lot in common with this, with their beliefs. Different methods, different things, and a lot of them study Kardec. Actually, a lot of these organizations. So yes, respecting and accepting and understanding. What my issue here is, let us not bring inside the Spiritist Center things that are not Spiritists. That's it. Helmut.
Yeah, I had shied away of using this term African religions to avoid this misconception of elitism, which I believe is a big risk in Spiritism in Brazil, to create some kind of elitism. So I rather use spiritualist doctrines that uses that works with mediumship. Because for one thing, it's not only the ones that descends from Africa. There is many others who descends from other parts of the globe, including even in South America itself. So one of the things that I think is that I suggest that I do avoid is to use the terminology African religions. it creates the misconception, the impression that spiritism is being elitist, is creating prejudices. It just aggravates a problem that you already have from some statements from Kardec in the Spirit's book that is ill interpreted and is judged as a prejudice, which indeed it's not for someone who read it properly.
And actually, you are right. And actually, Umbanda, which is one of those, it was actually created in Brazil. It's a mixture of Spiritism and Candomblé, which originates from Africa. Fabio.
Hi, Elmo. What did you say? How did you call them? Spiritualists, doctrines that utilize mediumship?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a very appropriate term. And also Umbanda as well, as you were mentioning, is, if I'm not mistaken, originated in the 20s, and it was actually during a mediumship meeting, just like the ones that we conduct on Mondays, and that kind of initiated, and it is what it is today. But I totally agree with Anna too. It's everything's part of the same. And with you too, when you just started saying that everything is part of the same. And just going back a little bit to what this conversation started, when Elmo was, or maybe João and Elmo both were saying how important Kardec is in this methodology of understanding mediumship. I myself am someone who since childhood have many types of experiences in mediumship, and I studied this in really great depth and interest, because I knew how potent and how strong is of this instrument, or this gift. Some people call it a curse, but gift that God gave us. And to me, having experienced and frequented and applied mediumship and read about it at great length, I find it's been 12 years that I knew of Kardec before since I was a kid, but for 12 years I really became extremely marveled about how he conducts how you as a medium, to how you can apply this so-called gift. And just going back again, it feels to me like this, I feel there's like a free MBA of someone who's a medium, because you can try Umbanda, you can try any other types, not only from Brazil, but from the world, that utilizes mediumship in their practice. But to me, this association of utilizing this to serve and to follow, thankfully, the ideals of someone like Jesus Christ, it makes total sense. And that's how I see it. And I put it in the, I elevated this type of study to me as a medium, a type of an MBA, because you're just doing like the best of it is the best out there. I also play the piano, and I always try to go to the best schools available, but I think I'm a better medium than I am a pianist. I've never made it to Juilliard, but at least in one of the many gifts that I was given, I find that, you know, everything that Kardec has written about this is, to me, exemplary and excellent. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Fabio. That's a very important aspect that you bring, and into having a methodology in inviting individuals to a conversation about our spiritual nature and our ability to interact with spirits living out without a flesh is so important. It will be the difference of someone consider oneself crazy and understand oneself as medium, as different someone understanding oneself as being cursed, and turn that and understand oneself as being blessed. what you taught to us is extremely important in why it is justified for us who have been introduced to this doctrine, have been introduced to a scientific methodology of looking at ourselves as a spirit and the possibility of the interaction between the two realms of our existence will be so significant, so important in the lives of all the people there who needs this because they are going nuts. I hear voices, but I know that I'm not crazy. Or am I crazy? I see things that people don't see. What's wrong with me? To come to the realization, no, there is nothing wrong with you. It's all in the realm, again, in the laws of science, or of nature, I apologize, in the laws of nature. There is an explanation for all of this. How important it is in the life of those individuals. But first of all, we need to know it ourselves. And you need to have a method of passing it to others in a way that one can receive it without alarm, without calling it, again, extraordinary or supernatural, but receiving it is something in the realm of nature and in the realm of the ordinary. No, you're not crazy. You are not extraordinary. You are just another medium over there. That will make a huge difference in the life of those individuals. If you don't have a proper method, we may create more problems. That's why Kardec writes those books and put it for us, ready for us just to use it. It's almost like he bites on it, he chews it, all you have to do now is swallow. Make it so easy for us. But again, and it's very important that words matter, and we need, in order to protect the doctrine, we have to be careful what the things that we say, because again, it's very easy for those who are enemies of spiritualism, for what spiritualism brings, to use anything that we say against us.
Elmo, this is Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, yes, just wanted to add there's quite a fascinating book regarding Allan Kardec. It's a 130-page book, The Spiritist Journey in 1862. So if anybody needs further uplift, it's a fabulous book. It's about his life and the creation of Spiritism. Thank you.
Oh, that's very good. If you can put on the chat for everyone.
Who is the author? Who wrote the book, Carol?
Well, it's published by the United States Spiritist Federation.
Oh, the Spirit.
Oh.
Oh, the Spirit. The 1862 Spiritist
Yes.
Journey. Yeah.
Yes, the Spiritist Journey, Allan Kardec.
Yeah, that's a beautiful book. Yeah.
Very, very good. I think Jusara was the proofreader on that, and
Yeah.
the translation, Helton Materio.
Yeah, it's the one that translated all the Leon Denis book. He
Yeah.
discarnated a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's a very good book.
Oh, thanks, Carol. Maybe Jean could put on the chat a link for anyone who is interested.
Yes.
All right. Any more comments or questions? This, unfortunately, I'm away from the clock right now. What time is it?
12:33.
All right. I really appreciate and I'm grateful for the participation of everyone. I think it's essential, as we spoke last week in the study of the gospel. Do not hide a lamp under the bushel. We all have a lamp and we all should use it, even if it's a question. A question is indeed a lamp that may illuminate for a lot of people who may have the same question and it's shy to ask or anything and like that. So I really thank you all for the participation.
And next Sunday, which is the fourth Sunday of the month, we are going to have our Q&A session. We already have some questions from Wayne that he sent when he came back from vacation, and we will try to answer that and others. Just put a link there for the book on the chat. For those that by any chance missed Jussara's lecture on sleep and dreams yesterday, it was very, very interesting, very comprehensive, very deep study of sleep and dreams according to Spiritism. It's on you can find it on the SGNY YouTube page, or you can also find on the United States Spiritist Federation YouTube page. Really worth. I think that's it for us, right? Thank you, guys. Carol?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, Elmo, for inspiring talk and explanations. And thank you, John, and thank you everyone for participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks for the opportunity again to be together as brothers and sisters for our studies of the Medium's book, Chapter 2 and the beginning of Chapter 3. The soul and spirit survives the death of the body and has the ability to manifest according to natural law. Supernatural and unexplained physical phenomenon are contrary to divine laws. We need to educate ourselves using reason and to look to science and observations for greater explanations. Every intelligent effect must have an intelligent cause, and it is not referred to as a miracle. Ectoplasm is necessary and is a component for phenomenon to occur. We seek to uplift our intellectual and moral life. Spiritism is universal and provides an immense platform of detailed study. We use faith and reason to continue to pursue this wonderful knowledge. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and good spirits for guiding us today, for inspiring us and uplifting us. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us. For our loved ones, our teachers, the directors, the counselors, the mediums, and workers. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace for those who are deeply suffering in the physical world and spiritual worlds. We pray for SGNY, our center, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, they may expand, they may prevail, and that they are always protected. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we go forth and remind ourselves to be beacons of light, of love, of peace, of service, and of charity. So be it.